The high-frequency kill switch on the desk in front row didn't just beep. It vibrated through the floorboards like a dying pulse line. 700 elite candidate commanders from 30 star systems sat glued to their anti-gravity seats inside the Grand Academy of Strategic Supremacy. Above their heads, the massive holographic countdown clock was still flashing 3 bright red zeros. Midnight. The 4-hour Imperial Fleet Command examination, the most brutal, brain-melting psychological test in known space, had not even begun. Then, a dull, metallic thud shattered the silent, freezing hall. Every eyelet, sensor cluster, and optical stalk snapped toward the front podium. A 19-year-old human cadet named Leo stood in the center aisle. He was wearing a scuffed, ill-fitting service uniform with the sleeves rolled up to his elbows. Right in front of the chief examiner's high marble desk, Leo had just slammed his military-grade dataslate face down on the glass scanner. The screen flashed a blinding, diagnostic green. Submitted. Status. Complete. Time elapsed. Midnight. Score. 100%. A collective high-pitched gasp rippled through the auditorium. 2 avian tacticians in row C dropped their digital styluses, while a 8-foot Gorgon warlord behind them nearly shattered his desk armor in sheer disbelief. Grand Examiner Valen, a 4-armed, golden-armored Krellian whose family had governed the Academy for 4 centuries, slowly rose from his floating desk. His 4 ocular sensors dilated into needle-thin slits, his mandibles twitching with absolute cold fury. Cadet Leo, Valther's synthesized voice boomed through the hall, vibrating the steel trusses overhead. You have committed a court-martial offense. The test sequence has not been initialized by the Central Quantum Core. To submit a blank slate is an immediate expulsion from the Imperial Command Fleet. Leo didn't flinch. He adjusted his dark blue cadet cap, folded his hands behind his back, and looked straight into the Grand Examiner's 4 glaring eyes. It isn't blank, Examiner, Leo said. His voice wasn't loud, but it had a strange, flat resonance that carried across the entire dead-silent room. Check the master ledger. Valen's lower left claw swiped across his primary monitor. He fully expected to find a corrupt file, a technical glitch, or an empty document submitted by a panic-stricken Deathworlder. Instead, the central system displayed 3 million tactical simulation variables, 40,000 fleet deployment vectors, and a complete orbital logistics chain, all calculated, locked, and fully verified. Valen's breath hitched in his throat. His secondary eyes widened until the pupils consumed the iris. This is impossible. The master test scenario contains 84,000 dynamic variables designed to simulate a full galactic invasion. It requires 4 hours of quantum processing power just for an organic mind to process the opening wave. How did you bypass the initialization locks before the timer started? I didn't bypass them, Leo replied softly. He stepped forward, resting his calloused knuckles on the edge of the examiner's desk. I read the scenario title on the lobby board 20 minutes ago while I was standing in line. The entire hall leaned forward. 700 future fleet admirals held their breath. The scenario, Leo continued, a cold, faint smile appearing at the corner of his lips, is titled The Defense of Sector 9, The Unwinnable Siege. You set up a fleet of 12 heavy dreadnoughts surrounded by 100 enemy carrier units, with 0 supply lines, 0 reinforcements, and a dying planetary shield. Valen's chitin armor clanked as he straightened up. That is the standard Imperial stress test, Cadet. It tests a commander's ability to minimize losses, calculate tactical retreats, and organize a heroic final stand. And that's why every alien species in this room fails it, Leo said, his voice dropping into an ancient, terrifying register. He leaned in closer, his blue eyes locking onto Valen's 4 trembling sensors. Your entire curriculum assumes that when a fleet is surrounded, the goal is to fight a logical battle according to Imperial doctrine. You spend 3 hours calculating retreat trajectories and shield distributions. But back on Earth, we have a very old rule about unwinnable sieges. What rule? Valen demanded, his synthesizer cracking under sudden, unscripted anxiety. If you give a human commander a fixed, Inescapable death sentence. Leo whispered. He stops playing defense entirely. Leo tapped the screen on the desk, bringing up the master tactical map he had just submitted. The second I saw the scenario map, I didn't calculate shield angles or retreat paths, Leo said, pointing his finger at the center of the holographic star map. I took all 12 heavy dreadnoughts, stripped their life support systems to max out engine output, turned off the weapon locks, and set a direct, straight-line ramming course for the enemy flag station at maximum sublight speed. The Krellian examiner stared at the screen in pure horror. You rammed the command station? With your entire fleet? Within 30 seconds of engagement, Leo said coldly. No tactical retreat. No defensive shields. No negotiations. I turned 12 battlecruisers into 20-million-ton kinetic missiles before the enemy admiral even finished opening his comms channel to demand our surrender. Leo pointed to the final ledger output flashing green on the screen. Your quantum simulation calculates victory based on enemy morale collapse. The second the computer processed 12 human starships accelerating to 90% lightspeed straight toward their home base with zero regard for their own survival, the enemy fleet's morale rating plummeted to absolute zero. They broke formation and fled the system in 8 seconds flat. A chilling, heavy silence suffocated the grand auditorium. The Gorgons, the Vraxi, the Krellians, warriors who had spent centuries studying pristine formation warfare, mathematical geometry, and calculated retreats, stared at the soft-skinned teenager in the scuffed uniform. They didn't see an untrained biological cadet anymore. They saw the offspring of a nightmare world where logic died the moment a cornered predator decided to tear down the entire room with him. Valen slowly looked down at his monitor, then up at Leo, his forearms trembling so hard his gold-leafed pauldrons rattled together like dry leaves. You finished an Imperial exam before the clock even started, Valen rasped, his voice barely a whisper. By choosing mutual destruction. Leo grabbed his cadet cap, pulled it low over his eyes, and turned on his heel to walk toward the exit doors. I didn't choose mutual destruction, examiner, Leo called back over his shoulder, his boots echoing sharply against the cold floor. I chose to teach your computer a lesson. If you trap a human in a box, don't waste 4 hours asking him how he plans to die inside it. Just assume he's going to use the box to break your jaw. The heavy steel doors hissed open and slammed shut behind him, leaving 700 future commanders sitting in complete, terrifying silence, staring at a clock that was still flashing midnight.